All right, let's jump straight into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a fascinating, honestly kind of mind-blowing chain reaction of digital vulnerabilities. We're talking about a thread that connects the literal phone sitting in your pocket right now all the way up to the highest, most complex levels of international geopolitics. We are looking at a digital perfect storm today, drawing on a convergence of recent data that shows how isolated tech issues are rapidly merging into a massive global challenge.
So here's how we're building this layered threat stack today. We've got 4 parts. First, unpatchable flaws in your pocket. Second, the $40 billion network. Third, how agentic AI supercharges cyber fraud. And finally, geopolitical tensions and systemic risks. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Unpatchable flaws in your pocket.
Is your device permanently vulnerable? Man, it's a terrifying question, right? We're also conditioned to just see that little software update notification, tap install, and assume we're totally safe from hackers. But according to some recent hardware analysis, if you're wearing an older Apple Watch or, say, holding an iPhone 11, the answer to that question might actually be a solid yes.
So, what exactly do we mean by an unpatchable flaw? Well, the crucial thing to understand here is that this isn't just a software bug that Apple can patch over the air. This is a permanent hardware vulnerability. It's physically embedded right there at the chip level. This means attackers can execute code and seize control of the device before the operating system even has a chance to boot up. It fundamentally bypasses iOS completely. And, you simply cannot patch physical hardware that's already sitting in millions of people's hands.
Take a look at this breakdown to see if your daily tech is on the list. For smartphones and tablets, we're looking specifically at devices running the A12 and A13 chips. So that covers the iPhone 11 and older, plus certain iPad Pros and iPad Minis. And over in wearables, the S4 and S5 chips inside older Apple Watches carry the exact same unpatchable flaws. We are quite literally talking about millions of active devices acting as permanently open doors.
Section 2. The $40 billion network.
Now that we know the hardware itself is vulnerable, we have to ask who's actually exploiting this. Well, take a second to process that number right there, $40 billion. To put that into perspective, that is more than the entire GDP of dozens of countries. And that amount is being extracted year after year by massive scam networks operating primarily out of the Asia-Pacific region. It's just an almost incomprehensible amount of stolen wealth.
According to Interpol's Asia cybercrime trends, we really need to update our mental image of a cybercriminal. You've got to forget the whole lone hacker in a dark basement stereotype. What we are dealing with now are massive, industrialized scam compounds operating across multiple countries. These syndicates are running highly organized investment fraud, absolutely devastating coordinated romance scams, large-scale DDoS attacks, and severe security breaches that actively threaten entire regional economies. They are highly structured, they are ruthless, and right now, they are powered by tens of thousands of human operators.
Section 3. Agentic AI supercharges cyber fraud.
So if human networks are already doing $40 billion in damage the old-fashioned way, just imagine what happens when you introduce the ultimate threat multiplier. This quote from the Boston Consulting Group really hits the nail on the head. Agentic AI will industrialize financial scams. We aren't just talking about a clever chatbot helping some guy draft a better phishing email anymore. No, we are talking about autonomous AI agents executing these attacks completely on their own.
Let's compare these two setups. Traditional scams, like those massive compounds in the Asia-Pacific, require huge amounts of human labor, physical buildings, and just a logistical nightmare of overhead. But agentic AI, it completely flips the script. It doesn't need a physical office, it doesn't sleep, it definitely doesn't take coffee breaks. By leveraging open-source models, it can run 1,000 complex, highly personalized cons simultaneously.
And the economic shift BCG is predicting here is just staggering. Look at this. When you apply agentic AI to cybercrime, the cost to execute fraud plummets by a massive 90%. But the truly wild part? The success rate effectively doubles, an increase of 100%. It is literally a scammer's dream come true. Attacks become incredibly cheap to launch and twice as effective at actually stealing your money.
Here's the exact playbook for how this agentic AI operates without any human intervention, basically replacing those massive international scam compounds with just lines of code. Step 1. Bad actors exploit OpenAI models that were released without proper safety guardrails. Step 2. The AI automates the creation of synthetic IDs, building entirely fake but super convincing digital personas. Step 3. It clones target voices perfectly. Imagine it taking a 5-second audio clip from your social media and turning it into a weapon to trick your family. And finally, step 4, it executes this highly personalized deception at an industrial scale. This is exactly how that $40 billion problem multiplies practically overnight. Section 4, geopolitical tensions and systemic risks.
So let's look at the macro fallout. Because AI and cybersecurity are so incredibly critical right now, corporate business deals are instantly morphing into high-stakes geopolitical battles. This timeline really shows how it escalates. We start with investigations like Mythos scrutinizing Anthropic investors over foreign ties to China. That quickly jumps to escalation, where the White House is asked to intervene and revoke access stemming from Glasswing's expansion. And ultimately, it forces a regional response, where international giants like SK Telecom, Samsung, and the Korea Internet and Security Agency have to navigate this incredibly complex regulatory fallout. It's a purely mechanical, high-stakes battle over who controls the tech of tomorrow.
To ground all of this in some expert consensus, the MIT Risk Initiatives recently surveyed 272 international AI experts to identify the absolute most urgent threats to our future. When you ask the world's leading minds to rank the dangers of artificial intelligence, their answers perfectly validate the layered threat stack we've been unpacking today.
As you can see, out of all the global threats mapped by these experts, fraud and scams doesn't just rank as some minor nuisance. It sits right up there alongside the massive threat of power concentration among a few tech giants and the existential dread of dangerous capabilities like AI developing autonomous cyber weapons. The experts completely agree here. The industrialization of deception is a top-tier global concern.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway. We've traced the path from a hard-coded, unpatchable chip in your iPhone 11 to a $40 billion international crime syndicate, to the agentic AI making those syndicates cheaper and deadlier, all the way up to global policy and expert consensus. So when your device is fundamentally unpatchable and the AI hunting it is fully autonomous, how do we secure our digital future? I'm going to leave you with that provocative thought to chew on the next time you look at the smartphone in your hand. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep your digital guard up and keep learning.